Tomorrow, 115 cardinals will begin the sacred and clandestine process of selecting the next pope. It appears that Pope Francis has welcomed an unknown individual who may have a significant impact on the trajectory of the Catholic Church. He has been the center of attention and controversy due to his close relationship with Cardinal Luis Tagle. The city of Manila, the Philippines, and the Cathedral Basilica of the Most Holy Virgin Mary extend a warm welcome to you. At long last, the Pope has chosen to shed light on Cardinal Luis Tagle. For what reason did Pope Francis choose this moment to inform the world? How will this impact the Church's influence globally? We will go into great detail regarding Pope Francis's handling of Cardinal Luis Tagle and his decision to tell the people the truth about him. Cardinal Luis Tagle and Pope Francis have an extremely loyal relationship, rooted in mutual admiration, shared ideals, and a desire to lead the Catholic Church in a fresh path. Like the Pope, Cardinal Tagle has strong moral convictions. He has a great sense of what people want and needs, is easy to talk to, and is honest. For Francis, the Church has always been a shelter for the downtrodden. Before becoming a cardinal, Tagle made a difference in Manila through his work with the poor and the common people. The Pope now has a firm belief in the power of clergymen beyond simply preaching encouraging sermons, thanks in large part to Tagle. Their shared goal of establishing a church that can weather storms is the foundation of their friendship. After Tagle was appointed prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples in 2019, their collaboration became even stronger. The new leader of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples is Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, who was appointed by Pope Francis. A person holding this position is known as the Red Pope, and they possess significant authority, including the ability to regulate missionary activities in various nations. Given Tagle's prominence in the Vatican, Pope Francis likely intended for him to spearhead the expansion of Catholic teaching in the Americas, particularly in the developing nations of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. By the way, their friendship goes beyond the office. Francis has advocated for something that Tagle holds in high regard. These virtues, kindness, conversation, and action, rather than ideology, have been emphasized by both leaders. Since they have both faced violent backlash from conservative factions, they are resolute in their belief in a loving church. Pope Francis's views on leadership are similar to Tagle's, which are centered on humility and kindness. It seemed like Francis was right about Tagle leading the Church of Mercy when he responded swiftly to Typhoon Haiyan in 2013 and showed kindness during disasters. Because of his deep understanding of religion and his tireless efforts to spread the gospel to everyone, Tagle serves as an inspiration to liberal Catholics around the globe. The head of the Church, as Pope Francis has repeatedly stated, cannot remain a member of the clergy. They should instead be compassionate toward the social outcasts and rejected. Pope Francis recently made some remarks that have revived the debate over Tagle's role in the Vatican's hierarchy. Their current collaboration appears to have been prearranged, though the Pope has been vague about the Cardinal's long-term responsibilities. Can we see a potential turning point toward change in Tagle's journey through the Church? Cardinal Luis Tagle has lived an extraordinary life, making a mark on stages around the globe. From Manila, he climbed his way up from Manila's streets to the Vatican's halls. The year 1957 was Tagle's birth year in the Philippines. His life exemplifies his dedication to helping the less fortunate and his active participation in his community. He was born with a brilliant intellect and a noble spirit, and he went on to become a prominent figure in Catholicism by pursuing a career in theology. After being named Archbishop of Manila in 2011, Tagle began to steer the Church in the correct direction. Many Filipinos working overseas were pleased to hear of the canonization of Manila Archbishop Luis Antonio Tagle. A priest has also commented on how challenging Tagle's new position as leader of the largest Catholic region in the world will be. The transformation of Tagle into a reformer was rapid. He refused to succumb to the avarice and materialism that had previously prevailed. Rather, he sought to revive a commitment to missions, a passion for justice, and a concern for the church and its members. Millions of people can find something meaningful in Tagle's sermons. They are both inspiring and profound. Many started referring to him as Asias Francis after his meteoric rise to fame. After a string of advertisements revealed his growing influence in the Vatican, he shot to global fame. The Catholic humanitarian organization Caritas Internationalis has affiliates in 165 countries, and while Tagle was president, he supported initiatives to combat climate change, hunger, and poverty. Because of his reputation for facilitating dialogue amongst churchgoers of diverse cultural backgrounds and religious persuasions, he was appointed to head the preaching efforts. After being appointed as prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples in 2019, he underwent significant personal transformation. As part of the church's mission, he was responsible for making the gospel known to all people everywhere. By recognizing and appreciating cultural diversity, Tagle ultimately had a significant impact on the way the church preached in non-Western nations in Asia and Africa. So how significant is this degree of fame? The reason behind this is his familiarity with military procedures. Among the many issues confronting the church, Tagle stands out as a leader who is both courteous and knowledgeable about religion. Speculation about Tagle's role at the Vatican has been increasing in tandem with his influence there. He may become even more involved, or he may even seek the office of Pope once more. What, then, does a church under Tagle's leadership look like? An abandoned church for the downtrodden. With Pope Francis assuming the papacy, the Catholic Church has shifted its attention to the marginalized. This concept, which goes by the name of a church for the poor, has gained momentum thanks to Cardinal Luis Tagle's support. They are all urged to strive for a world that is more just, compassionate, and merciful. These are evident in Pope Francis's emphasis on the periphery, despite their potential to profoundly alter the dynamics of interpersonal relationships within the Church. He imagines the Church as a refuge for the outcasts on the periphery. Fighting hunger, providing shelter for refugees, and addressing climate change are all areas he has focused on as president of Caritas Internationalis. Not only that, but his persuasiveness and capacity to rally others make him an indispensable member of the Church's charity initiatives. President Tagle frequently emphasizes the significance of listening when discussing his role. If you love someone, they will always be open to your words and will never grow weary of hearing them. While other models of power structure emphasize hierarchy, Tagle actively seeks to listen to everyone, particularly those on the margins. Regardless, there are issues with concentrating on the edges. When the Church conveys its message to society in this way, some who oppose it worry that social causes may take precedence over its teachings. Those who hold a negative view of the Church contend that Pope Francis and his followers are become so preoccupied with maintaining political correctness that they are neglecting traditional Catholic principles. However, Cardinal Tagle and Pope Francis have maintained their positions because they are aware that the Church will become irrelevant if it ignores these and other contemporary issues. In addition to helping others, Tagle can also spread the Pope's vision. In an increasingly divisive world, his efforts to strengthen religious relations demonstrate the Church's desire to foster good relationships. For this reason, Tagle echoes Pope Francis's central message that dialogue between believers of different faiths can foster tolerance and understanding. Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle are praying that the Church can have a more personal relationship with people. One could say that the foundations of modern Catholicism are being laid before our very eyes. May we find a fresh perspective on the Church's role in this rapidly evolving world by shifting our attention to the periphery. The Vatican, a stronghold of the Roman Catholic Church, has long been the scene of a power struggle concealed behind the outward appearance of unity and religious fervor. Conflicts of this kind manifest conceptually at the intersection of postmodern culture and traditional values. A fascinating tale of unsaid struggles unfolds daily between conservatives and reformists like Cardinal Tagle and Pope Francis. Pope Francis has spoken out against clericalism, asked for a decentralized church, and criticized issues like immigration, climate change, and economic openness in his second year as Pope, making more reforming changes. The Pope of the Catholic Church and sovereign of the Vatican City-State has issued a dire warning: the planet will become inhabitable unless immediate action is taken to combat climate change. Nevertheless, significant obstacles have thwarted these endeavors. This change has been strongly opposed by conservative parties and groups within the Church of Rome. These groups view it as a significant departure from the Bible, which they believe to be God's Word. One manifestation of this struggle for dominance is Cardinal Tagle's involvement with the Vatican. Although Tagle aligns with Pope Francis's perspective of the Church as empathetic and peripherally focused, not everyone is pleased by his ascent. I find it unfortunate that his practical management style and emphasis on dialogue and participation contradict more mainstream understandings of Catholic doctrine. People are now more optimistic and curious about the challenges that the head of the church may encounter as a result of this. The financial situation has been closely watched throughout this power struggle. Much controversy has ensued since Pope Francis began the process of cleaning up the Vatican's banks. Tagle will support the efforts to change because, as a member of the management team responsible for charitable activities, he has been advocating for more and better disclosure. Not only do influential groups oppose him due to this, but they also have interests that they wish to safeguard. The concept of succession adds another layer of complexity to these processes. Pope Francis has been mum on the subject of a successor, but the rising profile of Tagle and others raises questions about the Church's direction going forward. On the other hand, conservatives may wish to hold on to or back politicians who they believe will abandon the reforms implemented by the framework, similar to Pope Francis. A battle for future church leadership is unfolding behind the scenes, and it's showing. These struggles for control impact the global strategies employed by dioceses' top officials and aren't limited to the Vatican. The split that widened the chasm between unity and traditional Catholicism became emblematic of that era in the Church, though many traditionalists remain. What part do influential figures like Cardinal Tagle play in bringing about these shifts? In your opinion, how will these shifts impact the Church's efforts to tackle the problems of the modern era? Even though he lived during a turbulent period, Cardinal Luis Tagle remained an idealist whose impact on the Catholic Church will endure. Without a doubt, this youthful cardinal has accomplished much. He has aligned Catholicism with the downtrodden and marginalized, advocated for immigration and human rights, and spoken out for the oppressed within his own nation. Progressive Catholics around the globe hold Tagle in high esteem. There are serious internal and external issues plaguing the institution, and he is abusing his position of authority at the same time. These days, Tagle has excellent people skills, which allow him to be friendly with people from all backgrounds. Tagle, whether addressing a gathering of devotees in Manila or representing the Pope, was modest and affable. The more pastoral style of leadership he frequently advocated as opposed to the authoritarian style that now dominates the Church has been sorely missed by most. By extolling the virtues of a receptive and inspiring faith, Tagle has cast himself as an outcast within the modern Catholic Church. Nevertheless, this legacy is being constructed amidst a period of immense transformation. While faithful people in Asia and Africa are steadily increasing in number, the number of priests and other church representatives in Europe and North America is slowly declining. This demographic shift has advantages and disadvantages. On the one hand, it increases the difficulty of service, while on the other hand, it empowers individuals. Tagle is culturally attuned because he is the leader of a big and varied community. He is well known in non-Western societies and is not a Westerner, which makes him an excellent choice for the position. Another thing that makes Tagle's process guide stand out is the way it incorporates both traditional wisdom and modern thinking. One of his roles is to facilitate discussions between faiths, and another is to address climate change. It's encouraging that the Paris Climate Summit will place a strong emphasis on equity and justice. He has demonstrated his willingness to collaborate on current issues, such as justice for all, but this has also drawn criticism. He has allegedly abandoned religious matters, according to conservatives in the church. Here we see one of the many issues plaguing the Catholic Church at the present moment. The way Tagle dealt with these various demands will shape his legacy. A question of leadership emerges in light of the ongoing changes within the Catholic Church. Those who follow Pope Francis as group leaders must carry on the excellent work that he started. It is possible that Tagle, who is both loyal to Francis and powerful in the Vatican, will be the one to steer the Catholic Church in a new direction. However, the vast and frequently polarized communion of Roman Catholics across the globe will decide whether or not to embrace his views. There has been much discussion regarding Cardinal Tagle's tracts, but construction is ongoing. The fact that he oversees a group with established norms and practices in an ever-evolving setting that must remain structured presents significant challenges. His capacity to inspire hope, unite people, and make a difference will determine his legacy. Does he have what it takes to lead the Catholic Church into a new era of healing, welcome, and vitality? A number of people are speculating that Cardinal Pietro Parolin, who is widely considered as Cardinal Luis Tagle's main opponent for the popeship, could replace Pope Francis. As the Vatican's Secretary of State, Parolin oversees the institution's operations and policies. Being a cardinal and having been in numerous high-profile situations, positions him as a strong contender for the position of Pope. While Parolin is well known for his extensive diplomatic experience and conservative beliefs, Tagle is more of a reformer with a pastoral bent. Parolin served in the Senate of Bishops before this. His Italian ancestry suggests he hails from a very conservative part of the Catholic Church. His work as Secretary of State and his ability to guide the Church through its complex international relationships and maintain its global power have garnered him respect from traditionalists, despite the challenges that come with modern society changing. The public perceives Tagle as more radical, while Parolin is admired for his brilliance in dealing with the church hierarchy. Another interesting thing about him is that ever since he assumed power, he has been mediating and coordinating between various factions within the church. While constructing this bridge, he has made every effort to address the concerns of those on both sides. He goes so far as to seek a compromise when contentious issues arise. His ability to navigate government politics is appealing to those who prefer incremental improvements over radical overhauls. But there are many who believe his proposals aren't original enough to address the challenges the Church is facing in this age of rapid global change. You could say that the modern Church is full of contradictions, as shown in this fight between Tagle and Parolin. Postmodern leadership, according to Tagle, is all about looking ahead, being inclusive and putting people first. However, Parolin explains that the Vatican typically operates in a traditional and diplomatic manner. Many believe that these distinctions allow us to ask vital questions regarding the Church's future direction and the type of leader it requires at this time. It is clear that most positions in the Vatican administration are still held by Italian clerics, as Parolin's fame attests. The papacy has always been headed by Europeans, primarily Italians. This has always been the case, even starting in the Middle Ages. For instance, this norm was broken with the election of Pope Francis. However, it appears that this trend is about to reverse thanks to Parolin's campaign. This situation further complicates the succession issue, highlighting the continued presence of both tradition and the New Age within the Church. In spite of their differences in employer, Tagle and Parolin share a deep devotion to the Church's mission. Research has demonstrated, however, that the likelihood of selecting the next pope is revealed by their divergent approaches. In what ways will the church act? Is it going to maintain the present priestly hierarchy or opt to be more involved with ordinary people and their projects? What happens to the Catholic Church in the coming decades is dependent on this question's answer. The dispute between Tagle and Parolin highlights the difficulty faced by the churches in light of the widespread speculation regarding the potential successor to Pope Francis. The outcome of this conflict will determine the Church's ability to guide believers in a world that is increasingly fragmented and complex. In your opinion, what does Cardinal Tagle's appointment as Pope mean? By the way, in your opinion, who is the most deserving candidate to be named Pope? Leave a comment telling us what you think. Please consider sharing, liking, and following for further updates. Also, proceed to the next video by clicking on it. Go ahead and enjoy it.